easy way of doing it.
And to do that.
That's, were you gonna share? She kinda looked it over. She handed me out a little one of these.
Force ready.
She only had 700. Yep.
All right, call to order the regular meeting of the Tonganoxie USD 464 Board of Education for Monday, July 8th, 2024. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I would move that we approve the agenda with the addition of a item 1.5 on handbook updates from Cody and Becky. Is there a second?
I second it.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item number 1.4, Jill on the bus purchase.
Good evening. I'm just here to kind of give you an overview of how our fleet looks. So you all received some information from me, just letting you know kind of what each bus and vehicle is used for on a daily basis. And then also, this is kind of a fluid rotation list that I have, with 76 being at the top, and then 54 and so on, and then just the list of the vehicles. So currently we're in the same situation as we were last year as far as drivers. So I'm not seeing a change in our routes for this year at this time, meaning we'll have the A and B route as well as the longer routes that we combined for last year, which is the 77 passengers are needed for routing because the routes are longer and there's more students on those buses. And currently we don't have any extra minus. We do have 38 and 40. Those are slated for our activity buses. So we take those out on activity. So all that to say, if a bus has to go to the shop, we don't have another 77 passenger to put those students on unless there's not an activity going out. So it would greatly help us if we could get another 77 passenger. Also, with the look at potential growth that with the new housing addition going in on the east side of town, I think it would be in our best interest to get another 77 passenger bus. So
And I'll just interject, the timeline to get a bus is about 16 to 17 months
correct.
out. I mean, so you don't get them right away.
Right. We are expecting the bus that we purchased with the grant funds, we are expecting that hopefully in November. That's what they're telling me. So we'll see as we get closer to November. So
Was that a 70 or 77?
it is a 77, and it is the one that we purchased with AC. So what I was planning to do was put that down with the trips for the trip buses, and then move one of the trip buses into the fleet as well.
Now, does this bus that we're looking at have air conditioning?
The bus that we're looking at does not.
Okay.
We did that because we had those that help with the
Right.
with the grant.
There was a couple of questions about the difference in pricing, so you might want to touch
Yes.
on that.
So Midwest Bus is who we've always gone through. They're located here in Bonner. And I did reach out to him and was like, this is a big difference here. He let me know, as you can see at the bottom on the options, his price does include our camera system that we put on all of our buses, as well as you'll see the price increase for steel. as $5,500, and he said that price is what it will be at delivery. He said he's had multiple districts and companies calling and voicing their frustrations with these other companies who, when they have gone to deliver the bus to them, have said, you owe us X number of dollars because prices have gone up. So he included that extra price for the steel, and he said this will be the price at delivery. So there will not be any, yeah.
So that's good, but that's still quite a bit more expensive, even when you figure those in. So I mean, it's 22,000 and change different, and those two things count for 8,700. So I
Right.
mean, that's still pretty significant.
The one thing that Jill and I talked about, Justin, was the fact that we get really good service nearby in Bonner. They take care of us whenever we have any issues with warranty. The other company that you're looking at is in Wichita, and you have to run it down there, and you might obviously you might leave it there for a couple of weeks until they get it repaired. And that was part of our discussion, is we have had a good working relationship with the people over in Bonner for the last several buses we bought. So that's a little piece of it, but not at all. But that was our discussion.
It just seemed like historically there hadn't been near that much difference. Okay.
And I would agree with that. I didn't think in the past that it has been that big of a difference. Because as you can see, Kansas Truck is very close to the Midwest Bus. But, I'm sorry, I misspoke. Midwest Transit. Kansas Truck is the one that's really inexpensive.
And does that price comparison report come out of Greenbush or somewhere?
That comes out of the state, they go into the state,
State bid thing?
state bid thing, yes.
So is Midwest Bus and Midwest Transit, is that the same company or a different
No.
company? Different company.
It's a different company.
And then I see in your report with your vehicle info,
Yes,
I think these 77 passenger buses are nice, but I kind of think we ought to be thinking about some 28 passenger ones based on what I see in mileage. We got some really, really high mileage 28 passenger buses.
yes. Yeah.
I mean, 172,000, 110,000 miles, 140. I think I would be getting nervous.
Which ones are you talking about, Chris?
These 28 passenger minibuses.
He's talking about bus number 5, number
One.
1.
And those
Nine.
are mostly our sped buses.
Yes, they are.
And
Just
so-
an area of concern that's
Yeah.
alarming to me when I look at it.
Yeah,
See.
well, I think what I would add, and I think you're right, Chris, we talked about
And we have talked about
prioritizing.
that.
The first priority was the 77 passenger, but I think even this year, we'll have to address another minibus because of aging out, especially number 5 is the one I was looking at. But those don't go on routes. Those are all transport. They go on a route, but they're a transport of special ed students.
Okay. Other questions? Okay, thank you, Joe. All right, item number 1.5, Cody and Becky were gonna give us a quick update on some of the handbook changes, which are an action item.
All right. Good evening, guys. Every year this time, we look at the handbooks and we tweak and make changes, but this year was a much bigger undertaking for a variety of different reasons. And Becky could probably speak to it better than me, so I'll let her speak to the grander project. And then there's at least one item in particular for the high school handbook I want to share with you guys and answer questions before you would vote on it later. So to the bigger plan, I'll let you speak to what we did or what you did primarily.
All right, so this process, we kind of had two major goals when going through the handbooks. The first was reformatting and revising for clarity, comprehension, and consistency. Over the years, we had a lot of formatting and different fonts and margins and structure and table of contents and things just kind of added and removed, and things like subject-verb agreement. It was kind of a mess, so we wanted to get that cleaned up. And then the other goal was to go digital. It's 2024, so rather than deal it with PDFs, we wanted to streamline all those documents to Google Docs. So that makes changes easier to track. Doing annual updates is easier. Accessibility-wise, for screen readers, for the visually impaired, PDFs are almost not able to do that. So by making it a Google Doc, screen readers makes it more accessible for our patrons. So those were kind of the two main goals in doing our handbooks. You'll see that we kind of have a new format. So instead of 3 books with all the district information in each one, we have 4 handbooks this year. So we have one handbook that's district-wide policies, things like student nutrition, transportation, technology, safety, health, technology. All of that is in one district-wide policies handbook, and then each building still has their own handbooks. And for the that one pager kind of detailed the major changes that you would see for the handbooks this year. At the elementary school and middle school, there were not a lot of major changes, but Cody is going to speak to some of the bigger changes that we see at the high school in the handbook this year.
So the big change at the high school that I want you guys to be aware of and be able to answer questions, because it's just a large change, is so the state has changed the graduation requirements for the class of 2028, which will be this year's freshmen, which is, there's nothing we can do about that, so that's been changed. But one thing that we have been looking at here recently and feel like with that class and the new graduation requirements would be a good thing to change is with weighted GPAs, Val and Sal, valedictorian and salutatorian, have become increasingly more complicated and more difficult to provide an equal playing field for all of our students. And what many high schools have done is they have gone to academic honors. And so you graduate with academic honors instead of picking a valedictorian or salutatorian. And many schools have gone to the Latin system that colleges use. So a magna cum laude, summa cum laude, and a cum laude. And so that is what we have put into the handbook with the class of 2028 that we would like to shift to, is students would have the opportunity to earn those academic honors versus valedictorian and salutatorian. And there's a lot to that. And so instead of just going into every single little detail, maybe I'm going to pause, and if you have a question, I'd be happy to answer it.
So, go ahead.
What's the implications of doing that? Like, what's the
So-
overall?
So the reason we were making this shift is because when GPAs were capped at a 4.0, it didn't necessarily matter how many classes a kid took or what kind of classes, how difficult they were, whether they had a reduced schedule, whether they took more classes with 0 hour, everything was capped at a 4.0, so it just didn't matter. As soon as you start allowing the GPA to go above 4.0, there are multiple ways to skew it to either give you an advantage or a disadvantage. And unfortunately, one of the disadvantages is being highly involved. So if all students take the exact same courses, first hour through 8th hour, the same amount of weighted courses, but one student decided to take 0 hour jazz, their GPA would actually be a little bit lower because there would be more classes pulling it down, right? And so it becomes, and that's just one example. There are 4 or 5 examples that start swinging the GPA one way or the other to give people disadvantages or advantages. And so in terms of the reason as to why, that is why. It's because it's becoming very difficult to make sure it's an even playing field for everybody for Val and Sal. And so that's the why. It's not because we like the Latin honor system better. It's not because there are a lot of other high schools going to it, and I think it's for the same reason. But it's not to follow what other people are doing. It's not because we like it better. It's because we think that's actually what we can be the most consistently fair with. So did that answer your question? Yeah.
I had the opportunity to chat with Cody a bit about it. I had questions. It feels to me like it encourages participation, not gamesmanship, because there's certainly some gamesmanship involved in what you may have to do if valedictorian and salutatorian were important to you, and I think we would encourage participation and not feel like that hurts anymore. So that was kind of part of what I took out of Cody's conversation.
And there are, just to share it with you, just so you understand a little bit of what we'd be looking at or can know what it is ahead of time. And we went back and looked historically over the last 4 or 5 years since we've been doing a weighted GPA system. And so summa cum laude would be the highest academic honor that you could get. And again, this would be starting with the class of 2028. So this would not be a surprise to any class. It would be our freshmen would know the whole time that they're in high school that this is what it's going to be. So for a student to achieve that, they would have to have a 4.2 or above GPA, and they have to complete the Kansas Honor Scholar curriculum. And so they're still going to have to take a lot of weighted courses to get above a 4.2. And then with the Kansas Scholars curriculum, they would have to take biology, chemistry, and physics. They have to take 4 years of math, where the state only requires 3 years of math, but you have to take 4 years of math. And then you'd have to take 2 classes of foreign language. Those are the primary differences. And so there would still be, going back historically what I was saying earlier, just so you know what that those parameters are, we would have 2 to 3 kids a year typically that hit that qualification. So it's not like it would just open it up to 20 kids getting that highest academic honor. Historically, last 4 or 5 years, 2 to 3 kids would get that each year. The next one, magna cum laude, is a 4.0 to a 4.19 GPA, and again, completing the Kansas Scholars curriculum. That opened up to closer to 8 to 10 kids each year. I think there were maybe a couple years that was low teens that would hit those qualifications to receive that honor. And then the last one, the cum laude, would be all students above a 3.8 GPA, and they do not have to do the Kansas Scholars curriculum. And so that was probably around 20 kids that would get that academic honor. So just a little bit of so you guys can see how that would shake out, at least historically, over the last several years.
It's a bit in the weeds, but who does the speeches then at graduation?
So again, kind of leaning on, okay, that's one where we did say, okay, what do some other schools do? Some other schools, or what a lot of other schools do, is they actually do an application process for students that want to try to speak and earn that honor. And then they have their staff go through those and vote on the one that they would like to have speak. And so that's the system that we had looked at going to, is now we would still maybe do like class president for the opening, the welcome. But then in terms of the speech, it would be an application system, and you would have to put together your speech. It would be compared to the others that have put theirs together, and the staff would pick the speech that they think is the most suited. So that's the idea for it.
And what would be the grade point average to be qualified or eligible for that?
We were not going to put one on that.
So 2.8 could be the speaker.
They might have a great voice. I don't know. I mean, they're still going to have to beat out the other kids, right? So you're still going to have to put together a great speech that, in our staff's opinion, is better than the others that have been put together.
Well, I think you should be limited to being at least cum laude or whatever. I mean, if you can't get that good, you shouldn't be qualified to do the speech. But again, that's a little bit in the weeds.
Yeah.
I mean, I
It
see
would-
And
the
that's-
positives of being broader and having more. I mean, sometimes you're splitting between some pretty small fractions.
Yes, and you're very well aware of that.
But the class, the criteria you used, I mean, is that based off some other?
It is. We've looked around at other schools to see, and then we just had, Josie, Kelly, and I, if they were here, they'd be laughing right now, because we spent more time talking about this than we probably should have. But we knew it's a big deal, it's important, and so we spent a whole afternoon trying to decide if it should be 4.0 to 4.19 or 4.01 to 4.19 for the middle. And we've looked at a lot of different other schools, and we had a lot of conversations about it. And I think we feel pretty comfortable with where we're at on the qualifications for each one.
The top one was 4 years. I'm not.
No, that's okay. 4.2.
4 years of math, but not 4 years of science, or was it either
Correct.
or?
It's so what they do is they set the courses you have to take in science. So you have to take biology, chemistry,
Through
and
the
physics.
honors through the honor.
We're following what Kansas sets for their honors curriculum or their scholars curriculum. So that is set by the state of Kansas, but we're saying that you have to meet those standards plus the GPA requirement for us, which again is not every school does it just like that, but several do, and we kind of like that. So that's why we chose it.
Yeah, I'm probably spending too much time in the weeds on this, but you might want to, for your 4 years. There's sometimes there's kids that are in programs that take math in junior high, that's high school, and they get to high school and we run out of math classes, so they can't necessarily always get them in high school. So, I mean, I guess high school level classes over their career or something like that, because I've had one student in that situation.
Right. We do have, not very many, but we do have a few students that come into high school 2 years ahead in math. And we have some that are seniors this year that are in that situation, and we partner with St. Mary's, and I believe they are taking Calc 2 this year in high school.
Well, if we have the options, that's fine.
Yes, we do have options.
There hasn't always been the options for the higher level classes.
Gotcha. So yeah, as of right now, I feel pretty comfortable that, again, even our students that are coming into their freshman year ready for Algebra 2, we have, at this point in time, we have a great partnership with St. Mary's, and we're still able to offer them a 4th math class. So
It would seem to me like this framework, I mean, it's important that you don't change the game for the existing students, which
Right.
you're not. And it would seem like this framework covers the big ideas, and that if there were some tweaks between now and 2028 graduation, those could be adjusted in subsequent handbooks too. So there will be something that comes up relative to this that we didn't think about.
Yeah.
I think we just need to acknowledge that going in.
Yeah, no, I agree. And even to the speaker point, to some degree, we have a couple years to look at that and say, okay, do we like this or not? Because that really won't come into effect until 2028. So,
Yeah, some kids it's a big deal, some kids it's not. I know.
well, yes, but
Well, we're one that would have refused to do his speech if he could have gotten out of it. But
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? I know that's a big change. That's why I just wanted to make sure I was here to answer any questions to that.
For what it's worth, the handbooks look great.
They do. That you can
Formatting,
thank Becky for all of that.
They look
So
great.
Well, that's a big deal to be searchable on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From an ADA issue.
So I asked her today how many hours she put in. She had no idea, but she started on this well over a year ago almost.
Translates into lots.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you both. All right, move into the consent agenda. So I think we can go ahead and approve it, but I did ask Lauren in his superintendent report to hit just a minute on item number 2.7, which is the approval of our health insurance renewal. But I would move that we approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. All right, we did have one patron comment. Give you the floor.
Hi, good evening, and thank you for spending your summer in education. I'm Gina Montalbano-Zessiger, and I live in the Tonganoxie School District. My husband and I also have a farm winery here locally, so we're business owners and part of the chamber and all of those things. And I wanted to let you know that I am running for the State Board of Education for this district area. And my background as Dr. Montalbano, I retired out of the Missouri school system, so spent 25 years on the Missouri side as a teacher, curriculum writer, assessment director, all the teacher leader things you can do, and then moved into administration years in the Park Hill School District on the Missouri side. And retired out of there and have been retired from education this is my 4th year. So my heart is where education is, and so been drawn back to it with the open seat for District 9, which includes 28 different school districts, so lots of places to learn about. But I wanted to be sure that I let my hometown know that I am here for teachers, educators, and our kids. I truly believe education is the heart of our community, and without that working smoothly, nothing else really works together. So it's the biggest piece to the puzzle, and obviously all of you believe that. That's why you're here. And so my goal is to do what I can to support our districts and make education the best it can be for our kids, put our focus on teaching and learning, put our focus on connecting our kids to after college or after high school, trade schools, being able to give them an opportunity to see lots of variety throughout their educational career. So I grew up on the Missouri side myself, and so came out to UMKC originally. Just a little bit about how I ended up in Kansas. I'm kid number 4 out of a Sicilian family, so I'm first generation in the U.S., and my family wholeheartedly believes in education and working hard and giving all you got, because that's what education is all about. And so I grew up kid number 4, but on my side of the state, everybody goes to Mizzou, which I know is a bad word around here in Kansas. So I was that kid who was like, I got to see the world. And my parents said, well, the closest you can be is in-state tuition. So Kansas City is the world initially. So I came out to Kansas City and then enjoyed being out here, stayed out here, and then met my husband off of Fort Leavenworth. So Brian and I have been out in the area 6-7 years already in this area, and just wanted to come in and say thank you for what you do. And if you have questions, I am happy to work with you or talk with you at any time, you or your families or other families in the district. But I will have an August 6th primary coming up, and so that's an important date to keep in mind. I am very much a proponent of public education and making sure schools have the funding and the tools that they need to be successful, and that includes funding for special education and everything else. We can't put you behind on the playing field and then say, but you got to have all these results. And what happens is we need to make sure that our kids and our families and you guys have the tools that you need to be successful. So do we need to be accountable for what we do? Absolutely. So there is measures in place for teaching and learning. And so I really am just here to say, hey, make sure you read about who's coming up on school board elections, especially at the state level. And if I can answer anything, please let me know. Or if you have questions tonight, just let me know.
Thank you. Thank you for making us aware of your candidacy and your willingness to serve. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 4.1, Mr. Feldkamp's report.
Okay, so let me hit the health insurance topic first. We worked with CBIZ and Maggie Knudsen for the last year. This was our first year with Blue Cross and Blue Shield after we made the transition from Humana for the last several years. And I think the thing that I would like to kind of state to the board is when we switched from Humana to Blue Cross, we put into effect a strategy of putting some of the savings that we made into increasing the number of participants in our health insurance field. And that strategy served us well. It was a pretty sizable number, and the decision to try to get more people involved with our health insurance policy, and some of those were perhaps mostly classified staff, not certified, but classified staff, and it certainly has helped. So all along this spring, we were told to be braced for somewhere between an 8 to 10% increase through our various conversations. And then when on first or second week of June, when CBIZ came in, it came in at 0.25 increase. And we were more than happy to see almost a flat increase. And they went through the whole process of why we got there. And I mean, health is a big part of it, but we have one major claim. And that's fortunate on our part. So it was really pretty much a no-brainer to continue another year with Blue Cross. We did involve the Teachers Association. They asked to be part of that conversation. So they came and heard the same information Blue Cross gave to all of us in my office. So they were part of that too.
I have just an outside question on that. It seems like school districts tend to, for lack of a better term, like jump around
Yeah.
different health providers. Is there not a way for like the districts in the state, or is
Yeah.
there something where they can all join?
There are about 4 of those groups, and they are very selective on who can join. So for example, when I first got here, we tried to join a group out of Greenbush, Southeast. It was out of, down by Paola. We didn't qualify. At that time, we just had too high claims, and we were high risk. There's one out by Hutchinson, ESDAC has one, there's one Southwest Plains, but they're small. I mean, by small, there might be 8 to 10, and you can be voted off. I mean, if you're a school district that has too many. But there was also a push several years ago for the state of Kansas to have a large group, and it's never gained any traction. The major reason is Wichita has a very, very good health insurance plan that they really like, the largest school district in the state, and they just want to do their own thing. And I think I would say this, Kansas City area, each school district has, if you're Blue Valley, Shawnee Mission, whatever, they all take care of themselves.
Because what I see sometimes our staff find a provider that they like, and then we switch health insurances, and now they need to find a different provider, and
It's hard.
I see that more in education than any other.
Well, this is our
organization.
third, I think since I've been here, this is our third. We had Aetna, Humana, and now Blue Cross.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Blue Cross, it could change next year. You know,
Right,
and we
right.
know that. And so as long as we stay relatively healthy, no large claims, and we stay as a non-high risk, we'll be in good shape. So, but yes, there are groups, but and some of those have taken hits with high premiums.
I think that's why Humana's not available.
That's true. That they went to was it Pride? What did they
They're
do?
done. They don't underwrite anymore.
That's right.
They're out of the market.
Yeah.
I think the other risk, Stephanie, is to make sure that we don't cheapen up the offering so much just to save on
Right.
premiums as well. So you have to strike that balance between the product and the cost.
I think it's just hard to switch so frequently.
Oh, yeah.
That like,
Prescriptions.
right.
Huge.
You never know from year to year what to expect usually.
One thing I will say, and Becky knows this too, we were able to continue the wellness program through Blue Cross, which is, I mean, really nice to have. It's not as aggressive as what Humana was as far as, individual points and gifts and things, but they do support us with the financial amount that helps support. I mean, we have that year-end celebration, and they're a big part of that, for the giveaways and things like that. So yeah, we're happy.
In terms of the mix that we have, how do we get feedback from our classified and certified staff? Do we do that every year or two?
I don't know if we do it. I wouldn't say I think Blue Cross puts out information. They're always asking us how they can improve. And the TEA people heard that too. So Becky, is there an individual survey that okay.
CBIZ has been sending those out.
Yeah.
To all of our classified and certified staff?
Everybody in the district.
Okay.
And everybody's been very
I've done one
positive.
like the last couple of years, so.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah.
And Ryan, and like Lauren said, as part of negotiations a year ago, we agreed to have the teachers be more involved in the
Okay.
process on the front end.
There's a health insurance committee, but the TEA also wanted to just hear the narrative for input, and they were there. So it was good. Pleased, very pleased. Okay. And as far as the rest of mine is a lot of budget. So negotiations, our second meeting is scheduled for Monday, a week from today, July 15th, now at 9 o'clock. And I know that Justin sent out a little information email this morning about maybe trying to have the board members who are involved with that to meet earlier. That would be great. And so we have a strategy in place that we'll talk about. I think there's been some push for a capital outlay special board meeting, and we were talking sometime around July 25th. Is that correct? And,
Yeah.
and Justin's working on that too.
Yeah, I haven't sent that out yet, but
Yeah.
I'll see what July 25th looks
And that
like.
would be more, what we're hoping for is more of an afternoon, almost like a retreat locally here, involving board members and administrative team members to talk about the capital outlay and some of the bond contingency. We had a bond and interest Zoom meeting this morning with Dustin Avey, which I think about 30 minutes, very productive. And we had 2 board members listening in on that, asked questions and gave us some good insight. I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that, Justin, or?
I'll let you finish, then I'll talk.
Okay,
a minute
okay,
about
very good.
revenue neutral.
But budget closeout is Thursday, July 11th, so we'll be working all day on closing out the 23-24 budget. I'll go down to the budget build. We still have to schedule, we'll start building the budget right after closeout, probably sometime the 3rd week of July. And of course, there's a process for that to be developed, built, approved, put in the paper. And so we'll be getting all that started here pretty quick. My last thing is the R&R final discussion. And so is there anything you want to add first, or you want me to?
You jump in and then I'll.
So there, as you know, we're required through the state legislature to let our patrons know about revenue neutral rates, whether or not we will be revenue neutral or not. There's actually, you will or you're not. And if you're not going to be revenue neutral, you have to let the public know that in a statement that goes out in the paper it has to be in the paper on July 19th or 20th. 20th is the date, but that's a Saturday, so it's really the 19th. We will not be revenue neutral. So we will have to go through that process of putting it in the paper and then being subject to, I guess, a hearing. We'll have a hearing like we did last year. And that hearing will be sometime in August, around August 20th. And then that all ties into our budget that is done and approved sometime before, in August probably, but sometimes in September. And it's all that process. We're putting all the information together with the R&R. And a matter of fact, I met with Baser Linwood this morning, Tanya and I did, for the final piece, which was the special ed Form 120A. And you have to have all the numbers together to decide where you're at with your revenue neutral and what the potential for your mill levy will look like.
Yep. So I'll jump in, and Jim can weigh in as well. But so we've had Brian's participated as well. We've had several discussions with Greenbush, with Dustin Avey from Piper Sandler. I think we will be in a position to be mill levy flat. So be in a position where we're not going to raise the mill levy for next year. But given that valuations were up modestly, we would probably not be revenue neutral. The document that's due on July 20th is kind of the cap. So that's the most you can spend. Given where we are relative with the budget between now and July 20th, the budget will not be finalized by July 20th. So we will, you can certainly budget and spend less than that, but you can't spend more than that. So the timing's a little interesting, but it's the rules, so we have to go deal with it. So there will be a revenue neutral rate hearing after we do that. So there'll be a hearing at the next meeting. There'll be an action to publish the budget, and then the budget will be approved subsequently to that. So there's several steps there that all are required. But likely, I guess next week, I will be signing the document that says we do not intend to be revenue neutral for the next fiscal year, but we should be neutral from a from a mill levy perspective. So the mill levy won't go up, may go down a tick, but we were down over 2 mills last year. It probably won't look like that. So, comments, questions from the board? It's public education finances are complex, and the timing's not always ideal, but I think we're in a position to manage our spend carefully while providing the right product we want to provide.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty hard to control to be revenue neutral, honestly, if you do the math and look at how the whole thing's designed with 20 mills. I mean, a third of that we can't control at all. That's mandated by the state. Otherwise, we'd have to drain funds that wouldn't be financially sound. And I think it's the appropriate thing to do is to publish the rate that's flat. I mean, it may be not revenue neutral, but it's not an increased mill levy either. And then as we negotiate salaries and things, we'll know a little bit more where we land with the general fund and those things, and have some room, flexibility with the bond fund and everything else. But I mean, I think overall we're setting pretty well, but it costs a lot to operate the school, and the special ed things that was referenced earlier doesn't help our position very well either.
Any other comments, questions? I do think, for what it's worth, I think that we do as a district have our arms around the revenue neutral process much better this year than we did last year. I think while we knew about the timing, I think its misalignment with the rest of the budget process did not help our cause, and I think Lauren and team we're at least a couple weeks further ahead of where we were last year. And of course, we've been getting great support from Greenbush and Piper Sandler and our other partners there. So no action, but that's kind of the current direction. Questions?
Thank you. That's all I
Alright.
have.
Moving on to Assistant Superintendent Report, Tanya.
All right. Before I start on my report here, I just wanted to update you on the staff handbooks that are in your packet as well. We went through the same process with our staff handbooks as we did with the student handbooks. So we've updated a few things, just mainly things that were no longer used or no longer appropriate or applying to the district were removed from the handbook. So and they were updated in the Google Docs, the same as the others. So just for your information, those will probably change a lot more next year, but just getting those started and over to the new format. Also, we have enrollment coming up. I can't believe we're talking about the next school year already. We will open online enrollment tomorrow, and that will be for our returning students. We do have a new enrollment piece for new students. It won't open until next week. There's a few new things that we need to do on that. So returning students can enroll starting tomorrow. Brand new students to the district will be next week. We have not scheduled a formal in-person enrollment, but we do have buildings open beginning July 29th. So if folks need to come in for any reason, change schedules, pay fees, or if they want a tour, they can come in anytime beginning July 29th between 8 and 3. I do have our back to school schedule in there for August. Our new teachers start on August 5th, and then we have 2 full days with our new teachers to get them acclimated to the district, and then we add everyone else back in starting August 7th, and you can see all the first days of school there. Also in your packet is the strategic plan. There has been no change from last time, so it's the same document. We're asking at this meeting that we just approve the content, and then we will work with the company to polish it and make it ready for publishing and dissemination on our website and other areas as well. And then I just have in there Tanya's topics will resume in August.
Thank you. Questions for Tanya? Okay. Moving into the action items. Action item 5.1, we can table. There are no additional bills. I would entertain a motion to approve the revised student handbooks, item number 5.2. Anybody? All right, I will move that we approve item 5.2, revised student handbooks. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign, motion carried 7-0. Let's just go through these then. I would move that we approve item 5.3, revised district handbooks. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign, motion carried 7-0. I would move that we approve item 5.4, approval of certified employee handbooks. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign, motion carried 7-0. I would move that we approve item 5.5, classified employee handbooks. Is there a second?
I second it.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign, motion carried 7-0. All right, item 5.6, approval of bus purchase. I know that Jill was here. I guess I have some concerns about buying the more expensive bus. Historically, there's only been a few $1,000s difference, and I haven't been that worked up about it. But I mean, with almost $20,000 for the same spec, I am concerned about it. I don't know how others feel, but probably warrants some discussion.
So they can only be repaired by the place where you purchase them? Am I misunderstanding what she's saying
The
about?
warranty work is always done where you purchase. So like if we're just gonna repair it like a Red Fuel, that's one thing, but any warranty work is done at the place of
Place where you
purchase. And that's
purchase.
where the Wichita discussion came in with Jill and I, and just the relationship that we currently have over at Bonner, but that was it.
How often have we had to have a repair on a warranty?
We have, and usually it's like anything, when you first get a new vehicle, especially buses, it seems, there's always little things. Nothing major, but you still have to run it in to get a diagnostic on them. And I just know in my past experience, following a bus down to Wichita and then bringing the driver back and then running it back down to when I was at Valley, not here so much, but that's it. I mean, they're all good buses. So, I mean, if there's some hesitation, you're going to get a good bus no matter what. So that was my rationale.
I'm just
behind it.
looking at the added cost of if that was a frequent thing that we had to drive, to which there's an added cost there where it
You
might
just-
justify some of this. But
So it didn't happen here, but we had a bus in my past school district that was a lemon. And we were driving back and forth continuously. Has that happened here?
So what is the warranty typically on a bus?
You know, that's a good question.
So
I was thinking, I was thinking it was like 5 years is pretty typical. And then depending on the different segments of the bus have longer warranty. I know that, but the drivetrain and the engine and they have a different kind of not a fuel system.
So I
But
understand
anyway.
and I hear what you're saying, and I understand going to Wichita is problematic in time. I agree with Justin. I'm just one vote, but I think I can support tabling this and asking Jill to see what these folks can do with our relationship that we've had with them and repeat customer, see if they can do better on the
I
bid.
think
I think that's more than reasonable.
I think the other thing we ought to, Chris, you made the point, and we are in a good position from a capital budget perspective. I think we ought to look and see what the options are on the 28 passenger also,
Well, yeah,
not instead of, in addition.
Now, we can get those quicker.
Okay.
Depends what kind of, depends if it's a lift bus, because that's usually what she needs. Double lift, one lift, and so I'll talk to her about that too.
And I would tell you, not that this isn't important, and I think we need to keep our fleet current, but I think when we're spending dollars and trying to be good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars,
Yeah.
we need to do our due diligence.
Well,
Perfect.
and especially when you get it goes line by line. I mean, this is as apples to apples as we have on almost anything we buy. So I think we need to.
What I have seen in the bus market is that when companies really want to be competitive,
that can be competitive.
And I think maybe we can do that.
Well, and I think if you're also asking about an additional bus on top
Mhm.
of that, that gives you a little bit more bargaining power, maybe if you're.
I don't know if you've driven by there very much. They have tons of buses. They're all 56 passenger buses. They use those more in cities, just, you know, and they're everywhere, but not 77s, which is the longer buses we need.
So
I need to keep a rotation, but I think taking a month or
No.
2 months, I mean, if we're gonna have our other one in November, we'll have a
Mhm.
backup then, so it's
Yeah.
not gonna throw us too much out of that.
No, we'll be fine.
Does that impact any of the bidding since it was bid through the state though? Can we go negotiate with them?
It might, because this is a state bid. That might be the best they can do, and the people down in Wichita, they just sharpen their pencil and trying to get the state bid.
Well, we can, and then Linda did.
Oh, yeah, I just saw down here, it says 3-year bumper-to-bumper warranty. Down at the
I don't know what that
bottom.
always means with the drive, with the engine, but
Yeah.
sometimes there's a separate piece on that, but
But it goes, I mean, it does go
Yeah.
back to, it's not like it's a ton of years, so the less warranty coverage we have, the less chance you're gonna be running at Wichita. I think.
And I didn't quite understand the price increase on the steel. So
What-
she's
what-
saying that's a guaranteed price because the influx of pricing of steel to build the bus is going to
yeah,
change?
it fluctuates, and so I think it's.
Is there a disclaimer in the?
There should be. I don't know if I
So that's not-
completely understand
So
if that's not just a sales.
I understand that, but
Give me-
it kind of sounded like what she was saying is these other two companies might have a higher cost of delivery.
What we were told is that sometimes when buses are delivered, there's an additional $5,500 surcharge because it takes 18 months to get the bus.
Yeah.
That price went up. Now, is that written in the contract? It might be. That there's a fluctuation in steel prices. They're saying that this is it. They're not going to adjust the price.
So it sounds like there's general board consensus that we are interested in the bus, but
Yeah.
I would move that we table item
Yep.
5.6 pending additional information. Is there a second?
I would second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. All right, item number 5.7, approval of the strategic plan content. So Tanya,
Can I ask you a quick question
ma'am.
about that? So when I was looking at the goals, they're not really SMART goal. Like when you're writing a strategic plan, they seem very open-ended. Is that common for the strategic plan? And
Yes, a lot of strategic plans are written without, because a lot of your SMART goals will then be included in your detailed action plan. So we have two different action plans. There's one within the content of the strategic plan that's very broad, and Ryan and I talked through that one. We also have the more detailed document that we will be keeping track of in-house to review our progress toward all of the goals. And so that's also included. So we do have both.
because like it says, academic skills necessary for success. What does that mean? And that could be different for depending on the child. And like where is that kind of laid out at? How are we defining that academic skills?
A lot of that is part of the KISA process too. You know, the state updates the KISA process. They've updated standards and the academics part of the assessment where they have the cut scores, which will be set next year. So a lot of that's included in that piece of it. And so, you know, we're working toward that, meeting standards, going above standards. So part of that's not included because those things will be tweaked or will be a part of the KISA process.
any other comments, questions?
And who all, I know you had a committee of teachers that, and I'm sure administrators that sat on the strategic plan.
We involve.
How is it crafted, I guess, and is this the same as last year's, or the last one we've had, or is this different now?
The last strategic plan process went through Greenbush, and this strategic plan process we did in-house. And so we spent a lot of time, we did surveys with all students in grades 3 and up, staff members, community members, parents. We did in-depth retreat with the board, with our administrators, and we took all of the data from all of those things, in addition to the parent forums that we had, and pooled it all together to put together the strategic plan.
So are the goals things that we have not done as well in the past, or are they just like expectations, I guess?
All of the things that we put in the strategic plan were based on, different concerns that were based. It was based on a lot of our data that we've looked at, and a lot of the information that was, gathered in the forums and in the surveys of areas of concern.
Other questions, comments? I just, Tanya, I went back and looked, and you sent this out the first time to us back in March, and we've batted it back and forth a lot since then. I originally had concerns about trying to do this in-house, but I think we did the due diligence to make it a quality document. So I don't personally have any concerns with it, and I provided the feedback I did have. So, any other questions? I'd entertain a motion to approve the strategic plan.
Make a motion to approve the strategic plan as it's presented.
I second it.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. All right, that concludes the action items portion of the agenda. We do have a need to have executive session. So, what do we need? 20 minutes? 15?
I'd say 15.
I would move that we adjourn to executive session to discuss negotiations to protect the district's right to confidentiality of its negotiating position and the public interest for 15 minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Yep.
What's that?
We'll break before.
Oh, and a 5-minute
Yep.
break before. Is there a second? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. All right. All right, call the meeting back to order. No actions from executive session. Item 8.1, possible announcements. So Lauren mentioned, I haven't sent out a note to the group yet, but we'll be looking at maybe some dates in late July to try and get together on capital budget stuff, get a little more specific than the survey that we did. I'll send that out either tonight or tomorrow. Any other announcements, Lauren?
That's the big one. That would be a special board meeting. And we were hoping maybe to do something in the afternoon, and we could start off with a light lunch and see how long we have to go, you know, and try to knock that out. And we were looking at possibly July 25th.
Yeah.
And
I think the reality, guys, the capital budget dollars are such that we need to do something. You know, where we won't be in a position to earn interest on those remaining bond proceeds anymore. We need to prioritize what the projects are and get Lauren and team acting on them. So that should be the goal. Yeah, we'll skip it. All right, meeting adjourned.